Tonight, a shocking new ad from the president. It's being called racist, fear-mongering, and worse than the infamous Willie Horton commercial. A lot of that criticism even coming from Republicans. Then we're going to fact-check President Trump's new interview with ABC News. You have to hear this to believe it, and trust me, the fact-checkers were very, very busy going through that report. Also, Election Day, as you know, just a few days around the corner. We are following the money, following the president, and the key races that will decide the balance of power in Congress. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and we begin tonight with a campaign ad that is getting just about universally condemned. It's being called everything from race baiting to sickening to some stuff I can't say. A lot of people say it evokes the Willie Horton ad way back then. It's the 2018 version, and it was tweeted out by the President of the United States at that. By the way, Trump said Democrats let the guy in the ad back into the country. I want you to take a look at it.
Ladies and gentlemen, jury, please step out of the hallway.
Dead. Break up soon, and I'll kill more. See, the only thing that regret is the kill too. I wish I kill more of those. Kill more cops soon.
He says he wants to apply for pardon for the felony he committed. Attempt of murder.
Now, I should note before we get to the Republicans that the president again today said that it was the Democrats who let him back to the country. It's not true whatsoever. Now, the criticism, as I mentioned off the top, has been universal. These two Republicans have been the most vocal in their criticism. Senators Jeff Flake of Arizona and also you see Senator Flake as well here. They say it's a new low. Flake saying all Republicans ought to denounce the spot. Senator Bob Corker of Tennessee says the president is fear-mongering. In the wake of all of this, President Trump made an announcement about steps that he wants to do to crack down on immigration. He specifically wants to limit asylum. That is when people seek refuge here to flee violence or extreme poverty. He wants to make sure seekers come through ports of entry and don't try to cross illegally, but he didn't say what a port of entry actually is. He said an executive order will be coming, but he gave no details. But however, he was specific about why he wanted to do this.
At this very moment, large, well-organized caravans of migrants are marching toward our southern border. Some people call it an invasion. It's like an invasion. They've injured, they've attacked, and the Mexican police and military has actually suffered. And I appreciate what Mexico is trying to do. So let me begin by stating that these illegal caravans will not be allowed into the United States, and they should turn back now. Contained within this giant flow of illegal migration to our southwest border is the movement of illicit and deadly narcotics. It's in the southwest.
All right, I want to bring in our panel on both the spot, the president today, and where we're going from here. Richard Brodsky is a former Democratic New York State Assemblyman from Westchester, now a professor at NYU. Conservative strategist Bill O'Reilly joins us. Bill, Communications Director for Mark Molinaro's gubernatorial campaign. We're joined by longtime friend of the program, former Connecticut Republican Congressman Chris Shays, and our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman. In Congressman, I'll start with you. That spot that went out today, nobody has said they support it. Some people say no comment. Some retiring Republicans say it's reprehensible. But while I've learned to never be surprised, my God, the implication is if you're brown and you're coming from somewhere else, you're basically here to seek and destroy and to kill people. I mean, you don't have to read between the lines on this thing. My God.
Can you imagine what it's like to run as a Republican
Oy.
and never know what the president's going to say? And, you know, some of my fellow Republicans lack a spine because they should have stood up to him a long time ago. and now it's too late.
Can the Republican Party survive this? As a party, one party?
Well, I don't think the Republican Party survived for a number of years. I mean, I don't even know what the Republican Party is anymore.
You know, Bill,
But I don't know what the Democratic Party is either, with all due respect.
Well, I asked you first.
you know, just to show, and we're going to play an interview in the upcoming segment that the president had, which was just like, you know, you hit yourself on the forehead 10 times for some of the things that, but lest anyone think that there is not consciousness to what he's doing. He used the word invaders today, talking about these people coming from the South. Invaders was the exact term that the shooter in Pittsburgh used when he went in and he literally annihilated those people at that temple. The idea that it's the president, this isn't Steve King from Iowa or some Looney Tune guy. The president is doing this all for political purposes. There was no policy said today. He's doing this. We'll get into the politics of this later on, but on the heels of a tragedy in this country, in a person being ginned up, not that he's a fan of Trump, but he said the president's right, invaders are coming into this country. And then the president says this. Does anyone believe there is not the unhinged in this country that aren't going to take that as a cue to take the pickup down to the southern border here and get, you know, ready here to take action in their own hands? I mean, how irresponsible.
I'm going to surprise you on this one, Richard. I think it's a highly effective and well-crafted ad. And I don't like it. And I agree with the congressman. I've been there with the Republican Party as well and what's happening to it. But for the purposes that Donald Trump needs to achieve right now, it's a good ad for what he wants.
I'm not even sure you're wrong.
Those purposes are to keep the Senate and to keep in certain pockets of the country. Immigration is a huge issue. It lights up the base. It gets the attention away from the bombings and what happened in Pittsburgh, and it gins it up. It gins up that base.
It's to keep the Senate because he's hurting the House.
Yes.
This hurts the House. I think it helps the Senate politically.
Maybe, yeah.
And people have echoed your sentiments on the Hill today, including from the congressional campaign committees and the rest. They're throwing their arms up because in these suburban districts, this is like gas on a fire in the wrong way. But for Senate seats, like in Tennessee and certain other really competitive seats, this spot might help.
Don't you agree?
I think it helps with the House also, frankly. I do. I think people fear that image. It's very well done. You could say that there were some filmmakers throughout history that did things that were not good, but they were talented. I think this is very well done, and I think it'll accomplish its goal. I do. I think it's going to help.
How does your party survive this kind of stuff? How do people of integrity stay in the party?
Begging your question, I'm sorry, why are we asking that question? I mean,
Because he's a Republican
but
congressman.
they've won the White House, they've won the Senate, they're controlling the House. Clearly, there's some
And there's
effectiveness
buyer's
to
remorse
it.
going
No,
on.
but you're trying to throw dirt on the GOP, and they keep winning elections. I mean, maybe the question should be about, and I mean no disrespect by this, but instead of burying the GOP with all this, maybe we should respect the fact that it seems to be working for them.
No, it's not working for them this cycle. And that, because things have gotten tougher, worse, more intense, more dishonest, and more violent. And the American people are picking up on
The president
that.
doesn't care about any of that. All he cares about is
The
winning the
American-
election,
the
and this
American
is going to help
people
him do that.
I don't see it. I think in the end, he's played out. He's yesterday's news, and this is going to hurt
I'm
him.
afraid, Bill, you're right. That, and there's some anecdotal evidence that in certain pockets of this country, and I think Chris was more right than wrong, that particularly for the Senate. I mean, I can just tell you that, and you know this, but in any of the races that we're covering here congressionally, there's no way that 5 Republicans in New Jersey that are trying to keep their jobs or keep in Republican hands House seats, that this helped them today, I don't think. But we had a president send 15,000 troops to the border, even though they by federal law, have no constitutional right here to do law enforcement. And he said today the following, Chris: if they throw a rock, use a gun.
Okay, I don't like his rhetoric, but I'm going to be really candid and be politically incorrect. There is a feeling that somehow 2,000 or 3,000 people make the assumption they have the right to come into the United States whether or not we feel they should. And that feels like an invasion. a caravan of people. No, they're good and wonderful people, but I'm thinking, based on what right?
No, wait,
Based on the right, well, no, there's an answer to that. Based on the right of asylum, which is guaranteed by at least the statutes of the country, which means you show up at the border, you make a legitimate claim, and the claim is adjudicated. Doesn't mean they get to stay. If they are not actually asylum eligible, they get thrown out. But the answer to your question is they're abiding by the laws of the United States, not violating them.
No, I understand that, and I'm still going to make my point, that it feels like they feel that they have every right to be here, and we in the United States have no right to say
You've been
no.
watching
That's
Fox
the way.
News too much.
No, I don't watch Fox News. I'm going to tell you, there is a group of people, moderates like me, who are disgusted by Trump's rhetoric, but in some ways we say, you know what? He's not being politically correct, but darn it.
And you know why
There's
I
gotta be
think he's
a policy, there's gotta
politically
be a
right?
law. Exactly. I'm like you.
The reason why I think Chris is politically right
there has
is,
to be
how
rules.
many Democrats have you seen that have come out in support of the migrants? Now, I can make compelling arguments, and I've heard them, about the plight that they are dealing with in Guatemala, about some of these families who literally have lost the husband, two of the sons through gang violence in Honduras, and they're trying to come here to save the child or whatever. But there has not been, to my ears at least, one notable national Democrat who said, well, let's look out for the migrants. They know politically there is a risk that Chris has articulated that is, it's best to let the president try and sink himself than make the argument for the migrants.
Based on your argument, almost everyone in the country could claim to come here, and there's no logic to it. When I had community meetings, I had people from all over make their expressions, and then some people would say, we have laws, they should abide by laws, come in the right way. And then some people would be really negative about young kids who came here in 2 or 3. And then when a young child stands up who's now 16 and says, this is the only country I know, and then my whole town hall meeting would change and they'd be sympathetic. So I agree, there needs to be the kind of meaningful discussion.
There's a lack of clarity here.
Okay.
You are implying that there are forces, at least in the Democratic Party, that believe in open borders. That is not the case.
But I believe they do.
I think that's what people hear.
That's what people hear because I listen to Fox News. You do not hear that from Democrats. Name one Democrat who said that.
Well, I will tell you this. In my experience in Congress, I encountered a whole group of people who felt like members of Congress, whoever wanted to come in should have a right to come in.
With all due respect, that's 8 years ago. 6 years ago?
Yeah, it's
100
10
years
now.
ago?
Twice as many.
This is painful.
But Andrew, it went beyond that. It went beyond that, which is, and I'm as jaded and as hardened as anybody. God knows I was wrong 2 years ago what would happen, so I certainly wouldn't bet the mortgage was going to happen in 5 days. That said, again, the president
His rhetoric
pushed out a blatantly racist ad that we would mock if some city councilman in Oklahoma was running, and the president did this. He, by the way, talked about birthright citizenship in this country. Okay, birthright. You're born in this country. Now all of a sudden he doesn't want that to count. And he said today that if a kid throws a rock, U.S. military should shoot him.
Yeah. All of these are valid points, and all of these are the president brilliantly changing the subject from the negative news cycle of last week, and it's just coming up with all of this stuff out of nowhere and changing the narrative. And we're falling for the okie doke just like everybody else was. This is why I had an argument with our producer Larry that we shouldn't run the ad. But I understand the value in running the ad. But it's not being aired anywhere except like us, free media. We are, and most news outlets
He has
are.
another ad out that's actually better than this one, and it's not as
You're
contentious.
absolutely right. He's not only the president who claims to love and respect our military more than anybody else who has ever held the office, is sending them needlessly to the southern border when we already have the resources in place to handle it, possibly in violation of the Constitution. We'll get into that in a little bit more. And now he's basically putting them in a position where if a kid on the other side of the fence throws a rock, they're under orders from the president to open fire on those kids.
What if there are no troops there? What happens?
He's putting
They just walk in?
our military in this incredibly difficult position.
No, that's what the military
They're going to have to shoot a
They go into
kid
very
at the
difficult
border.
positions.
The troops are not out there doing assistance roles. They are not doing patrolling. That's part of the phony baloney
But if
nature
you
of
have
it.
And Bill, by the way,
X thousands of people and they decide to walk
they're
in,
almost
what do you do?
800 miles away.
Yeah,
And they went from 7,000, the latest number is 2,000. As much as the president wants to make them sound like they're all MS-13, all right? More than half of them are women and children. So my point is, it's not like this marauding brigade. And I'm with you. I'm not saying, hey, here's a piece of paper, you're a citizen now. I'm not suggesting that. But I know it's politics. I know it's contrived. I've just never seen a president ever debase.
Well, there's never been
I
one.
mean, my God.
Yeah.
Can he ever make it better? Can he ever just not make it
He's not
worse?
going to change. He's not going to change.
Okay, coming up next. You got to hear this interview to believe it, okay? President again is ratcheting up his campaigning, and basically every day from now on till the election, he'll be on the campaign trail. And with it come the lies, and believe it or not, he's actually acknowledging he's doing it, and without a scintilla of shame. Stay with us.